What should football clubs do with players that refuse to train and play for the club? Would you want your club to sign a player? See, this is what I said. Would you want your club to sign a player that has done that? Give us a call now, 03717 22 3344, and join the show. And joining us for more on this is the former Wolves midfielder, Dave Edwards. Dave, a very good morning. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Good morning, chaps.
Dave,
Hi, Dave.
Dave, where are you on it? Because you probably heard what I said there. No problem with City putting a bid in. I've got no problem with Wolves at all feeling that the bid's not enough and they're well within their rights to knock it back. But is Nunes going about it the right way for you?
No, absolutely not. But it is modern day football, and you do see these things happening. It wasn't in my makeup as a player. It wouldn't have been in your two's makeup either. But it'd be for me more letting my teammates down, because if the deal doesn't go through and you've got to turn up next Monday when the transfer window's shut and try and integrate yourself back into that squad, and Wolves are going to punish him from a financial point of view, but the amount of money these guys are on now, that's not going to hurt him when the upside for Matheus Nunes is joining one of the best teams in the world if he does get it through. And it just shows what player power can do. And I think when you do have a player who downs tools like this, it puts Wolves in a really difficult position, because all of a sudden that asking value that they want to get to, that might be compromised a little bit, because they know they've got a player who is not happy and will do anything to get out of the football club, and the fallout from it is going to be difficult for Wolves, whichever way it goes.
You have to be careful, Dave, as well, don't you? Because it doesn't seem like long ago that Wolves were a team that everyone was saying, "Wow, they've really emerged, and they've got a good team and a good way of playing. They sign good players, they spend good money." Now all of a sudden, you're in that position where a lot of players are going, some are now wanting to go, others are going to leave, and it creates that kind of atmosphere at the place that if you're not careful, you could end up a bit like a Watford, where their players are coming and going left, right, and centre, and it's very difficult to kind of establish yourself again.
Yeah, and it is, and it's a difficult job for Gary O'Neill, because when they got promoted from the Championship, I kind of knew that they were going to be strong in that league, because what they had built under Nuno, there's a real togetherness. The club had a real identity. They were adding real high quality players to that as well. And they went on this run, got to European football. And as I said, although they had the high quality players, it's more from that identity they had. The fans were really on board. Everyone was close together. Whereas the last couple of seasons, you can see that just dissipate a little bit. And they're at a point now where, unless they get this deal done for Matheus Nunes and reinvest that money, it's going to be a tough season for Wolves. It was last year. Lopetegui came in and did an incredible job to keep them up. And there's a reason he's wanted to leave as well, because he's obviously had promises which aren't kept. There's a lot of things going on upstairs and FFP problems, and Wolves find themselves in a bit of predicament where they're selling players, but they're not reinvesting the money for whatever reason. And it's going to have to be a very, very good job from Gary O'Neill to kind of really get everyone back on board, everyone going in the same direction, and ultimately have enough quality in the squad to make sure they're not in that bottom three, or they can pull away from it as quickly as possible. It doesn't look like they want to do too much business in terms of incomings in this window. And you just hope by the time they get to January, they're not already in that bottom three and really struggling. If they can do enough to stay just above that dotted line, then reinforce them when maybe FFP problems aren't quite as bad, because they have this rolling 3-year cycle, which is spoke about. But it's going to be a difficult season for Wolves, I think. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope they can find a way to win football matches like they did on Saturday against Everton, and have a good season. But everything's stacked against them at the moment.
Dave, tell me, you've been a pro probably since the early 2000s. Andy and I go back a good bit longer. We go back pre-Bosman and things like that. I'm going to ask you, mate, because the differences I see in terms of player power are night and day. And I'll be honest with you, back in our day, we probably felt players certainly needed a little bit more power, right? But are we now at the stage where they've got too much? I mean, even taking it to extremes, like I know they're up there the best in the world, but I'm talking about even guys like Mbappe, who are effectively running clubs and things. I know Nunes isn't at that extent or anywhere near it, but have the players got a little bit too much power now?
Yeah, the balance has definitely switched and gone too far, hasn't it? When I was thinking about him having that conversation, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been him. It would have been his agent or something like that. But I can imagine when I was at Wolves walking into Mick McCarthy's office telling him I'm not going to train. Yeah. I can imagine the response I'd have got.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, and that would be enough to put you off doing it. And obviously that's what should happen as well. But it won't just be coming from him. It'll be coming from agents and people around him. They'll be advising him. This won't just be Matheus Nunes thinking, I really want to go and I'm going to play up. People will be advising him not to train and do these sorts of things. He's got to create himself a problem and the club a problem to force this deal through. Whereas if he turns up every day and is a really good lad around the place, like maybe Ruben Neves was over the last couple of years when there's plenty of bids coming in for him, he's definitely... It's not just him on his own doing this. And it's a shame because I'm really 50-50 about it because he has the ability to be one of the best midfielders in the world. He really does. He's natural talent of being able to receive the ball on the half turn, glide past players. And you'll know what it's like as a central midfielder.
He does that so well. You're right.
Very often you get a centre midfielder who will run at you. Usually if you stand a centre midfielder up, they'll pass sideways, they'll move the ball. But he will try to take you on in the centre of the pitch. And it's really tough. You saw it to a devastating effect in that first game against Manchester United. Yeah. That's what he has. But the problem that Wolves fans will say is he's been so inconsistent for Wolves. There's been glimmers of this absolute world beater, and then he'll go missing for 80 minutes. So hopefully we're trying to find that consistency. But Wolves don't have that sort of player. They don't have the X factor when he's not in the team. So that's where I'm a little bit worried that if he does go and they can't replace him, that's why it'll be difficult for Wolves to score goals and create this season. So over the whole thing, I just really don't agree with what he's trying to do and how he's trying to manoeuvre himself out of the football club.
What do you think, Dave? Talking about replacements, clearly not a like for like, but would you like to see somebody like Iheanacho come to the club?
Yeah, I really like that signing. He's a goal scorer. Wolves have got Fabio Silva and Matheus Cunha, who they've been kind of playing as a front two. Cunha plays just off Fabio Silva, and Fabio Silva's young. He scored goals last season. Everyone is desperate for him to do well. They really are. The fans have really taken to him. But in the opening games, he's had chances and not put them away. And they need some more help up there. They've got big Sasha Kalajic, but he's coming back off an ACL injury. So you're never quite sure how that's going to work out. But I really like the sign of Iheanacho. He scores goals. He's a good finisher. And that's what Wolves really need. Their build-up play can be very good. But when they get into that sort of penalty area, they just lack that clinical edge. And they've created more chances this year, but still the goals aren't coming. So someone like him, they need another centre-back. They're very light at centre-back as well. And obviously if Matheus Nunes goes, they'll need to strengthen the midfield area as well. So there's work to do for Matt Hobbs, who's a sporting director, to try and bring players in. And that's why you want this Nunes deal wrapped up as quickly as possible, because if it drags into the last couple of days of the window and you've only got 12 hours to sign players, then that becomes very, very difficult and asking prices can become inflated. So if they are going to do it, they need to get it done. I'd say almost give themselves a bit of a deadline to get it done ASAP.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.